Recovery after a facelift is one of the most important questions for patients because they want the surgery, but they also want to know how soon can I go back to my regular life? How soon can I go out in public? How soon can I go back to the country club or a gala or a fundraiser or just be back on camera and doing everything that I normally do, including sports, athletics, golf, tennis, pickleball, etc. So it's a two-part answer. The first is the immediate recovery after a facelift. Obviously, this is going to have the most amount of restrictions. So, for approximately 1 week, sometimes 14 days, that's where you have the most amount of swelling. That's where your incisions are going to be more obvious. And if you have any sort of bruising, that's where you may see that. And most of our patients, especially ones that fly in, they'll usually fly out around 10 to 14 days. At that magical 10 to 14 days is when you still have some swelling. Obviously, you're not fully recovered, but you're socially acceptable. Meaning, our patients go into the airport and nobody really looks twice at them. They don't really look different than everybody else. They know if they looked in the mirror that there are some differences, there's some fullness, but others aren't going to stop and stare at them. Beyond that, let's say 10 to 14 day part, there's still a recovery portion. You still have restrictions, and I still wouldn't recommend that you go to any sort of major events at that point, but you are socially acceptable. So, why can't you go to those events? Well, you may still have some extra swelling here or there. Maybe not ideal to go out in public, especially pulling your hair back. Usually, that is reserved to around 4 to 6 weeks in terms of like sports and athletic things. I don't want my patients doing anything excessive because even though we lift all this up and it's not under tension and it's being held by sutures, it's just that it's being held by sutures. Your own layers have not healed to an adequate strength. So if you go, say, and play a game of tennis and you swing the racket and you turn your head very quickly, yes, you can pull some of that and undo our work. So we really don't want our patients to go back to any sort of especially rough sports during the first 6 weeks. We also say give it about 6 weeks until you schedule anything major, a wedding, a fundraiser, etc. Because you don't know how your swelling is going to settle. At around 6 weeks, almost everybody is at a point where they're very happy with the results. They still have some swelling, but that's usually the swelling that we actually like. That post facelift swelling, the subtle softness of all those areas around 6 weeks is actually favorable. So the long answer is it really depends on the patient, it depends on the surgery, but for most patients, majority of the recovery is during the first 1 to 2 weeks, and then there are still some restrictions between that 2 week and 6 to 8 week time period.